Evolution is supposed to be ruthless. Every trait that doesn't help you survive or reproduce is supposed to get deleted generation by generation until it disappears. That's the logic you were probably taught in school. So here's a problem nobody likes to say out loud. Same-sex attraction doesn't lead to offspring. By the textbook rules, it should have vanished a long time ago. It didn't. It shows up in every human culture ever studied. It shows up in your own genes. And the real answer for why it's still here is far stranger than it's just random. Start with the most famous explanation, because it's also the strangest one. In the 1970s, biologist E.O. Wilson floated an idea now nicknamed the gay uncle hypothesis. It leans on a concept called kin selection, first worked out mathematically by W.D. Hamilton in 1964. But surely this is just a comforting story dreamed up after the fact, right? You might be thinking it sounds too convenient to be real science. So here's the second, independent piece of evidence. In the early 2000s, Italian researcher Andrea Camperio-Ciani studied hundreds of families and found something specific. Women on the maternal side of a gay man's family tree had, on average, more children than women on other branches. Not slightly more, meaningfully more. The effect showed up again and again, concentrated specifically along the mother's line, which pointed to something carried on the X chromosome. The theory that grew out of this is called sexually antagonistic selection. The same genetic variant that makes a man more likely to be attracted to men might make his female relatives more fertile. The trait isn't a mistake evolution failed to catch. It might be the price of a trade that's still, on balance, winning. Here's a number that should stop you for a second. And that pattern gets even more specific in bonobos, one of the two species genetically closest to you. Primatologist Frans de Waal spent decades documenting how bonobos use sexual contact, including between the same sex, constantly, and mostly for something that has nothing to do with reproduction. They use it to defuse tension after conflict. They use it to cement alliances. They use it to hold their social groups together. In a species built on cooperation, a behavior that strengthens the group can matter just as much to survival as a behavior that produces offspring directly. Now here's the part science didn't handle well, and it's worth saying plainly. For most of the 20th century, psychiatry didn't treat any of this as biology worth investigating. It treated it as a disorder to be cured. The American Psychiatric Association didn't remove homosexuality from its list of mental illnesses until 1973. And that decision came only after enormous pressure, not new data about kin selection or genetics. For decades, institutions with real power ran so-called treatments, some of them coercive, on people who were never sick in the first place. The biology you just heard didn't exist, yet in any usable form. The certainty did. So if there's no single gene, no single switch, what does the full picture actually look like? Twin studies, including a large one led by Michael Bailey and Richard Pillard in the 1990s, suggest genetics account for something like a third of the variation in sexual orientation, not all of it, and not none of it either. Add in prenatal hormone exposure. Add in the social bonding function seen in bonobos. Add in the family fertility pattern Camperio-Ciani found, and you get a trait shaped by several overlapping pressures at once, not one tidy mechanism. That's not a flaw in the science. That's what most complex traits look like once you actually dig in, from height to temperament to nearly everything else evolution has built. Which brings you back to where this started. You were taught evolution deletes anything that doesn't lead directly to offspring. But biology has never really worked by that simple a rule. Kin selection didn't disappear because it doesn't multiply on its own. Bonobo bonding didn't disappear because it isn't about reproduction. And this trait, carried quietly for as long as humans have existed, in every culture, on every continent, didn't disappear either. Maybe the question was never why evolution allowed it to survive. Maybe it's why you ever assumed survival only had one path in the first place.